Hi you guys, welcome to my channel, and this video is the very second episode of the series that I recently started. The series is called Alone Not Lonely. If you haven't watched the introduction of this series yet, I'll make sure to mention it somewhere around here. I'll add a tag for it and you should definitely go watch it. It's barely 5 minutes long and you'll get an idea about what this entire series is about. Let's start about this episode, and I think in this episode I'm going to talk a little about glow ups and all the hype around that certain word. So, I have a few notes that I've made in my diary, and I write a lot of stuff in this, and you're lucky that I am going to read some out for you. I just write stuff when something happens to me, and when I am thinking and I understand something about myself, I learn something about myself, or if I learn something in general, I like to write it down. And all through this series, I think this diary is going to be used a lot. So you should consider yourself a pretty lucky person if you know what's in my diary. Anyways, now speaking of glow ups, I think let's just address what we all understand by the term glow up. Now, picking up on this idea from social media, we can just say that glow ups are technically supposed to be the best version of certain person. If I'm speaking about a glow up for myself, I would picture myself as a pretty beautiful person, a very fit, who has, I don't know, clear skin, who has great hair, not this, and who is not fat, or maybe someone who is actually making progress every single day, someone who is not afraid to say no, someone who is confident with whatever she decides. That is who I see when I think of the glowed up version of myself. This perspective is obviously different for you and for everyone else, but if we are looking at social media, this is what we get the idea of when we discuss glowing up in general. In this exact video, I don't plan on dictating what a glow up should feel like, or I don't plan on dictating what you should do to do a glow up. Mostly, I think I would like to tell you more about my experience when I tried to glow up, and you can learn from me. Maybe you can use my stories, my mistakes, or you can tell me about yourself. And I don't really want to be a beauty guru, but with this series, I just want to address the fact that not all of us have the same kind of stories. I hope I'm not confusing you a lot, but what I mean to say is you don't have to listen to me, or the things that I say, the maybe if I mention a few rules, if I mention certain factors, the information or the knowledge that I'm sharing with you is not limited to what I tell you. There's a huge pool of knowledge and you can use everything for your certain experiences. In this video, I plan on telling you what trying to glow up did to me and what I understood, and going through life as I tried to glow up, what exactly was I expecting and what happened in general. And concluding all that, I'd like to tell you exactly what I have learned in this entire process. I'd like to discuss with you the very important factor in our lives, which is self-awareness. Basically, we're talking about knowing yourself. Now, there's two types of self-aware people. The first type of self-aware people are people who actually know themselves, people who know their strengths, people who know their weaknesses, people who know their boundaries. They act exactly how they plan to act, and self-aware people in general who are sure about what their next steps are going to be and why did they do a certain thing at a certain time. They know everything. And the second type of self-aware people that I come across very often are people who are only self-aware about their faults. I have come across a lot of people and they just don't appreciate themselves enough. They are not confident, and if you try to tell them something about themselves, or if you present them with an opportunity, you can observe that they demotivate themselves with their own words. I think that is not self-awareness. Now, if I were to explain these kind of people with an example, I would say we all come across a lot of people every single day, and I am pretty sure you have come across someone who is good at something, good at a lot of things, but all they ever talk about is the one or two things that they are not good at. I think this would be an example of someone who just does not see their strengths, and they always keep talking about their weaknesses, and they hate themselves so much because I don't know, there could be a number of factors to the because. Of course, we all are raised differently in different atmospheres, so there's a lot of factors included in the, so let's not get into that. But these are generally the two type of self-aware people who are only aware about their weaknesses, and the other kind of self-aware people are people who generally are aware about themselves and their surroundings and what they want and what they need and their boundaries. I think those kind of people are pretty settled. Make sure you're not the second one. My point is, when I wanted a glow up, the need came from self-awareness, and my kind of self-awareness came from the fact that I saw that I had potential. I'm not going to lie, but I have always looked at myself as someone who can do great things. I picture myself standing in front of huge crowds. I picture myself receiving applauses from lots of people, and I just think that I do have potential to do great things, to help people, to speak publicly about something, which also explains why I'm talking to you guys right now on a very small YouTube channel. Anyways, my self-awareness technically emerged from seeing my own potential. If I am very specific, this self-awareness wave came upon me in I think 12th standard. When I was 18 and 19 years old, I realized about how stupid I have been when I was 14, 15, 16, 17, and which is why my experiences at the age of 18 and 19 have been a thunderstorm in my life. I realized about how I was stupid in school. I'll tell you something about myself. I used to participate in everything, and I used to be very bubbly and very, I don't know, how do you describe it? I used to be someone who would jump out of excitement, right? And that's a good thing. I think a big something that played a big role into my personality was my parents and the way I was raised. In whatever way I was raised, I think I was a pretty normal kid. I was very happy, and I was so happy that I would just ignore any sadness or any bullying that I used to face. And in my age of 18 and 19 era, we can call them my teenage years, I realized how some incidents that happened in my life were bullying, and there were people who were just making fun of me and fun of my personality, and it was just, and I couldn't see it because of my bubbly personality. So I realized a lot that I was being made fun of, and that was my self-awareness era. But even if I realized all those things, I never really found myself blaming myself about why did you do that and why were you so uncool in school. I'll tell you something that describes my personality a lot. I joined a school in 5th standard, and I was in it till 10th standard, and I never had one single best friend for all those consistent years. I used to have a different friend every year and a different best friend every year, and that person used to be someone who the teacher would have told to sit next to. So that explains a lot. I think in my teenage years, I realized that no one really wanted to be my best friend, and no one really liked me for my personality, and that was something that I was made aware of by my surroundings. No one in general had to come and tell me this, but sometimes when you stop being blind, and I guess when I stopped being blind, and when I actually looked at how people were around me and how people were around their best friends, observing very little things, you can learn a lot about yourself and about how other people see you. In Anyways, I had that kind of era in my 18th and 19th years on this planet. And as soon as that era ended, when I just came out of 12th standard, there was a COVID era and I had gained weight, and then I was on 75 hard for around 1.5 months. I really tried to glow up in that part of my life. So as soon as I was 20 or 21, I tried my hardest to glow up. I'll tell you everything about what I learned from that era of my life. So when I decided I wanted to glow up, I wasn't in touch with a lot of people. I did not have a huge friend group. It was just me, one of my friends, and my family. That's all. And all I wanted to do was lose weight and get better. I wanted better marks at my college. I had gotten admission in a great college. I had amazing new friends in my new college who were also online through Zoom and WhatsApp, but they were still friends. So in that era, I tried my hardest to glow up. As soon as lockdown started losing its intensity and people started coming out of their houses, as soon as my gym began working again, I started going to the gym. I paid a personal trainer for at least 1 month, I think, and tried to lose weight, then stopped again, and then started again, and then never stopped going to the gym. So what I learned from my glow up era was, so speaking of it in general, I was doing every single thing just to look better, just to look thinner, just to get clear skin, nicer hair. I was meditating, I was reading books, I was working out, I was trying to eat clean. After 4 to 5 months of doing this, I did see progress. I did see a huge difference in myself, and then I had a very happy era in my life, a very happy 1 month in my life where I was actually happy and I was enjoying, and I was thin and I looked beautiful to myself after a long time, and I did enjoy that era of my life. But then soon it ended, and after that era, this one very not good thing sat into my brain, which was that I thought if I was happy, then something bad would definitely happen to me. I thought that happiness and sadness came hand in hand into my life. So whenever I would become happy, there would always be this huge thought in my mind that something really sad is going to happen for me next. So glowing up and looking nice and losing that progress in just 1 month, that messed up my thoughts about myself. But then even that era did not last long. I am used to reading a lot of books, and books that talk about manifestations, affirmations, and not speaking badly about yourself. I think reading those books played a huge role in my life, and I never really let myself be depressed for longer periods of time. I'll tell you, when I used to be depressed, when I was maybe 18 or 19 years old, or when I used to look in the mirror and I saw this fat girl and I did not like what I see, I used to get depressed a lot. Depression only taught me one big thing, and it was that I was losing precious time, I was losing happy moments. That is all I have learned from my depression. It's natural. Getting sad is natural, and not liking yourself sometimes is natural, and overthinking is natural. But in all these eras that I used to have, I have observed that I used to stay in that shadowy place when the surrounding that I was in was trying to make me happy, or I could have used all of the resources around me and not stayed sad. I think that depression, speaking of it, it is like a very sad person. If we talk about it as a person, it is someone who is standing here right now, and that person is called depression, and he is trying to take you away from enjoying the good moments around you. I remember going to a family festival, and the whole time I was so clouded with negative thoughts, and I was in that era for months back then, around 4 to 5 years ago. and I was with my cousins, I was with my relatives, and we're all always in a very good mood whenever we are together. And just because I was in a shadowy place in that era of my life, I didn't enjoy. And thinking about it right now, I think that was the stupidest thing ever. So whenever I do get depressed, even in these moments that I am living right now, if I get very depressed in the evening today, I'll just make sure that I'm not missing out on life. There is so much life is trying to offer to you, and depression is this one sad person who tries to take you away from it. And I don't mean to say that you should not validate your thoughts. You should not you should just ignore your sadness and just go enjoy life. That is not what I mean by it. You can definitely work on yourself, but if you let those thoughts cloud you completely, you are missing out on a lot in life. So that is the one major thing that I learned from depression. We were talking about how I did have a glow up, and in 4 to 5 months I saw great results, and then I lost all the results and I got fat again, and all the results faded in a matter of weeks. And that affected me a lot, if I am being honest right now. How did that affect me was, I mentioned that I thought I did not deserve to be happy because happiness came along with sadness, and that is how it affected me a lot. But then again, I was reading books, I was not being negative on myself, I was saying good things, I was writing down these affirmations, journaling, I was doing my best I can do to be the best version of myself. I told you that I used to have these depressive eras, but I have this whole personality inside of my brain, my better self, and I just think about what that person would be saying to me if they saw me like this. If they saw me being sad right now, what would that person say to me? So I used to just help myself and heal myself a lot in these moments. And I have written down the 3 main things that I understood for glowing up. So glowing up for me happened in 3 steps. Step number 1 was understanding yourself. For that, you must understand your actions, your past. As I told you that I used to be a very stupid girl in my past, but if you just understood why you were the way you were. I might have mentioned a few minutes ago that I was the way I was because of the atmosphere I was raised in, because of the parents that I had, because of the siblings that I had, because of the relatives that I had, because of the situations I ended up in. That is how I became the person that I am today. And you must understand that, because that is something very natural. But I have seen people hate themselves because maybe they are so sad or because they are so blunt. I just think that people need to understand that if you hate yourself for some characteristic, the only way to come out of that mindset, or the only way to heal yourself, is first understanding why you were that way. Because you cannot keep blaming someone or yourself for being a certain way. You must understand why a thing is that thing, and only then, if it's a bad thing, you must forgive yourself. That would be our step number 2. The step number 2 in a real glow up for me was forgiving myself. I had to accept the fact that I was hard on myself. I didn't deserve certain things. And number 2 was in general forgiving yourself. And the very third step in which glow up happens is believing in yourself. Now, I don't have to give you a very big lecture about believing yourself. I don't want to, trust me. But when you are done with the first 2 steps, you'll have gotten these new pair of glasses. Think about them as glasses, right? Even if you don't have glasses, just think about it. After you've done your first 2 steps, which would be understanding yourself and forgiving yourself, you are going to get these new glasses. You just have to take those glasses and you have to wear them just after you're done with the first 2 steps, and you'll start looking at everything from a very different perspective. Whenever you see someone make mistakes, you're going to try to understand why the person did that. And I think, and that would be the real glowed up version of yourself. And then the very last step, which I mentioned, was believing yourself. I think that would come naturally to you after you're done with the first 2 steps. Later in life, these 3 steps are the only steps you need to glow up in any field, any factor of your life. You can talk about your mental health, you can talk about your career, starting a business. You just have to understand and you have to forgive all the mistakes that you have done, and you just have to do the third and the very final step, which is believing in yourself. I think if you do all three of these, you're very glowed up, and I do believe that you are the best version of yourself. And if you still stumble upon some mistakes that you are repeating, you can always do these steps again. So I think that's it for this episode. I am so excited for the episodes that I have written down for you next. So make sure to like this video if you loved it. Make sure to subscribe, and please watch all of my next videos and switch on the notifications or something. I'll see you in the next one. That is all. Please subscribe and follow me on my socials. That's it. Bye.